On this week's show, we're discussing Gears of War is heading over to PlayStation, the reviews for Split Fiction are in, and all the big changes to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all the week's video game stories and news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. Your podcast players for this week are myself and the Arcane Rogue, Mr. Chris. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, my friend. It's the weekend. It's a long weekend. For me, anyway.
Is it? I was going to say, have I forgot about a bank holiday?
No, it's a long weekend. I've got a day off for my daughter's second birthday. That's right, 2, folks. For our listeners who obviously were with us on that whole journey. Yeah, she's 2 next week. Or this week, I guess. And then Mondays I've got off to look after her. So yeah, it's just 4 days for me. So I'm looking forward to it. Starting the weekend with a drink. And there'll be a bank holiday soon. We usually get a couple in spring, right? If I'm not mistaken. May Day.
Yeah, it's like May has like 8 bank holidays and you don't get any for the rest of the year. Because the UK...
I've always liked May.
It's a good month. It's
getting warmer as well. I know we're both wearing hoodies right now, but I genuinely feel like this week I've wore like just a t-shirt and trousers and left the house without worry.
Pretty much t-shirt and jeans for me most of the week. I should compliment on you on your GamerGuild hoodie. So
I should compliment
video. If you're watching on video, these are 2 of the variants of the GamerGuild hoodie. So you're wearing what is yours, navy and orange, or is it black and orange?
Black and yellow, actually.
Black and yellow.
Definitely colourblind.
Yeah, it's hard to tell through a computer screen. And I've got the light blue and grey.
There's a sale on. Well, the sale's ended. Actually, it ends tomorrow.
Yes, the sale ran from the 6th till the 11th of March, where you can get 15% off everything, including one of these hoodies.
This is the first time we've both wore them at the same time.
I think so, yeah.
I think it might be. That's quite odd considering we do this every week, but... I guess change it around.
I'll be quite honest, I wear mine a lot on content because this hoodie pretty much lives in my office now. So even when I'm working from home, sometimes I'll just chuck the hoodie on.
Well, rather that than wear the cat.
Nah, the cat is comfy. He's nice and soft. Just put him around my neck. I've got 2 of them, so I could just put one on each shoulder or something.
One on your head, one around your neck.
This has took a weird turn for the intro, but we do have a great show.
Stuff them in is like insulation padding, like you do with your loft. That could work.
Maybe. We do have a great show lined up for you, but before we get into it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell icon so you keep in the loop with all the great content here at GamerGuildTV, such as this week's live stream. Mr. Chris, you continued The Last of Us without me.
I did. You were taken down by a mushroom. So I decided to go solo this past week. Got another 3 hours in the bag. We did have some concern with the live streams that we were actually going to miss the start of season 2 of the show, which obviously we wanted to get this wrapped up before then so we could focus on the Clickercast and get back to other game streams as well. We do realise when we commit to these live streams, when we did Gears, when we did Halos, it does kind of take us off the board from doing other things, and we did drop Avowed in there halfway through. Yeah. So I think we're getting to the kind of the final chases of it now. Probably another 6 or 7 hours left in the game. If by my reckoning, I think we may be faster, we may be slow, but 3 hours in, interesting things happened. And if you've not played the game yet, if you've not watched it, I definitely encourage you all to go check it out because it's an absolute masterpiece. And it dawned on me this week during the news, actually getting in that we'll talk about shortly, that it's been 5 years already since we played The Last of Us Part 2 for the first time, and just kind of experiencing it again all over. It's like, man, as if we've been like starved of like that Naughty Dog quality for nearly over half a decade now.
It's the only time I've played The Last of Us Part 2.
And you're playing it again now with me at least.
Yeah, I am. I skipped this week just because I was busy. I've had a very nothing to do with mushrooms. I've had a very busy week. Work mainly. It happens. Chris, other than Last of Us Part 2, what have you been playing?
Just a little bit more Avowed for me, really. I've got a few things lined up for the coming weeks. We've obviously got Assassin's Creed Shadows in less than 2 weeks now, so I'm starting to get excited for that finally. Obviously, we had multiple delays for that title, and I've always been a huge fan of the Assassin's Creed games. I'm on the fence with Split Fiction, whether to get it or not. I need to really see how much time my wife's got available and how much she's interested in Split Fiction, because it is a co-op game. There is no soloing this, so I'll test the waters with that this week.
There's always your brother.
There is, but again, it's timing. He works nights, I don't, and then it's time between. But it's not really much. I've done a few more hours in Avowed, still enjoying it. I don't think it's one that I'm probably going to, unless I kind of get more out the way before Assassin's Creed launches. I think I can see me just dabbling around. But yeah, not a massive lot for me. I've been quite busy this week. So how about yourself?
I have played a little bit more of Avowed. I've kind of finished the first main area, and now I've just kind of entered the second area, but I have finally started Indiana Jones.
Hey!
I'm not very far. I'm just still in the Vatican. Like, you know, when you kind of get to the Vatican and it kind of then goes, right, off you go.
Go explore.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've just been mooching around. I haven't done any story past that point. I did save some kid from jail.
Ah, nice. I don't think I actually did that one. I think it was one where I was like, I'll leave you till the PlayStation version of you comes out.
Well, I was just mooching around, but we've started watching Game of Thrones again.
All right. So you're into that.
Yeah, as I said, like we're really busy with work and stuff all this week. So, you know, sometimes when you get home, it's like, I just want to do something passive. So I haven't played that much this week, but it's good.
I understand that. You enjoying the game overall?
I am, but I feel like I'm not fully into it yet. I feel like I'm just kind of walking around corridors a bit, hiding from guards, that kind of thing. Not really. The story hasn't got its hooks in me yet.
Yeah. What do you think of Troy Baker's performance so far?
Oh, it's incredible. There's no doubt in that. It is. It could be Harrison Ford.
Just less disgruntled.
Yeah.
Give me my family back. Terrible impression.
Yes.
But yeah, good to know.
So I'm looking forward to playing more of both of them, actually. Because I'm playing Avowed on PC. I've been playing Indiana Jones, not on my Xbox, but on my 4K Fire Stick.
Wow, so you're experiencing all kinds of gaming then this week.
Yeah, through the power of Xbox.
Yeah, and we do have some cloud gaming news actually in the topics this week.
Yeah,
interesting stuff for Amazon Luna on the horizon, it seems.
But I still want a dedicated Xbox handheld similar to the Portal. I know there's other handhelds you can get, but they're about 2 to 3 times the price of what I'd be willing to pay for what I want the the functionality. So
yeah, I've found that a little bit with Avowed, where I'm so comfortable with the Portal just like jumping on anywhere in the house that I am.
Yeah.
When it comes to an Xbox game that I'm enjoying, it's like, do I have to sit in front of the big TV? Like, I would like to just curl up and get comfortable somewhere. But yeah, we wait. I know I can do it with the Razer Kishi, but I think once you've experienced the Portal, going back to like clipping your phone to a
Kishi
device,
shit.
it's like, it feels old school.
The Kishi is about £70 overpriced. I've stand by this. I think the Kishi feels horrible to use.
Wow.
It feels cheap, but it's like £100. So, and then your phone screen's not ideal resolution and size, so I don't think it's a great gaming experience.
It's definitely down there with mobile gaming. it's what it is.
It's an okay, using something like a Kishi or Backbone on your phone is an okay way of bridging the gap before you can sit down at a PC or console or TV or whatever. But it shouldn't be, for me, it's not your primary way to play.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But, unless you've been playing anything else, Chris, I invite you to introduce us to the
graciously gathered Gamer Guild Gazette, aka the news.
The news. And our news is brought to you by our guild heroes, such as our silver members, which are going to get an extra shout out this week, which are Orange Thunder, Big Lawrence, Humble, Jin, and Steve Nelson. Thank you very much for your support, guys. It really does mean the world to us. And I hope you're listening now.
They will be. Everyone listens who's a member. Except for those dirty freeloaders on audio feeds who sometimes skip it. I digress. But yeah, seriously, I think we want to do a shout out this week to that because we refreshed our kind of like the whole channel view a little bit. Just give it a little bit lick of paint. Hope you all like it, like a new vibe.
It's not a rebrand. We haven't changed.
It's not a rebrand. We committed not to messing around with that too much. But I think in the background, yeah, we wanted to just tidy up some things. And in the mix of everything, we kind of lost out on some people's names got maybe missed off the refresh list. So it's been corrected, it's been checked. All of our guild members, you are on the list that we usually display at the end of the show or during the show when we refer to our guild heroes, of course. But yeah, shout out to the silver members because, of course, you guys contribute that extra little bit further. It does start at 99p, but 99p is our entry tier. And yeah, it's kind of that thing where everyone, the hardcore, stay around for our, how many episodes are we up to now? 453 podcasts. So yeah, I'd love to know who's still here from the beginning. If they can let us know in the comments. There must be a couple who are like, I remember checking out the first one where you didn't even have faces.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you've watched or listened to all 453 episodes.
Oh, poor bastards.
Yeah. We did have faces back in the day, we just didn't show them.
Didn't have camera. I had a laptop camera, and I did not. It was not quality enough to even think about putting on screen.
And I didn't have one, so... So, Chris, first news item of the week. Gears of War is heading to PlayStation this summer.
Rumour.
It's a rumour. What are your thoughts?
I feel like we've covered this a few times. It's been there. Again, do remember that there was a functional version of Gears of War running on the PlayStation 3 way back when. Because the first games were made by Epic, right? They weren't actually Microsoft owned, and then they kind of jumped in and took over the whole franchise alongside Halo back in the day. But yeah, the rumoured article comes from kind of trusted leakers, and it's not the first time they've got them wrong. I think they actually this particular
accurately revealed the Forza 5, Horizon 5 coming.
Yeah, so they've got knowledge of Microsoft plans, it would seem. I guess it just depends on when they would drop it, because seemingly Xbox have a two-pronged attack this summer of plenty of stuff coming to Game Pass. We discussed it last week when we were talking about the Fabled rumours, and a Gears of War collection dropping this summer. You wonder where between Indiana Jones in the spring, we know we're getting Forza in April next month now, where else are they going to sprinkle this within Call of Duty and probably one or two others? I think Gears would be like massive. Do you think maybe a stealth drop at the Xbox showcase they do in amongst E3 week or traditionally E3 week?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I think they might just not make a big deal of it, really. If it is just the old remasters of the Gears games, because we don't know what titles it's going to be. So it could be just pushing it out there.
Well, we know... I think we all feel confident in thinking Gears of War E-Day is not this year, right? You're not expecting that come like October, November or anything?
No, I'm not.
I mean, we've had a revealed trailer, but a game like that does seem like it would need a little bit more, a lot more time in the oven. And I don't think it's necessarily needs to be primed for this year because Xbox is so ready. I think a collection would do really well to just kind of like light some fire under potential players and just make them think, actually, you know what? I can get back into Gears as far as the collection goes. We know we played Gears of War Ultimate, right? Which is the version we played on the channel for our playthrough.
Yeah.
And then it kind of 2, 3, 4, 5 are just like in their original state with the Xbox upscaling and resolution. So I think a collection similar to the Master Chief collection for me that just kind of ties it all together. Whether it's got more bells and whistles, I'm sure that's led to be seen. In and amongst all the remasters and remakes we've had recently, like we talked about like some of the PlayStation ones like Days Gone, we joke about The Last of Us getting several, Horizon. I would quite like a Gears collection, especially if they're going to jump ship to another platform as well. I'd like to see some extra love and attention to this. If I'm going to go and experience Gears of War on my PlayStation for the first time ever and do all the trophy hunting and whatnot, I'd quite like a significant, I think, jump up in polish. How about yourself? Like, what would make you pick this up?
I understand where you're coming from, but I think if they were going to do a remake, in order to give it that significant jump up in polish, it'd probably almost have to be a remake. And I think that Xbox will be making a bigger, more noise about that themselves, that they're working on the Gears remake, especially if it's coming before E-Day. I think you're most likely probably going to see this maybe a Gears 1, 2, 3 like remaster as a collection.
Well, that's it. They don't need... well, we know the Master Chief Collection got more added to it after the fact, and it launched in a bit of a shit state as well.
You might have a few extras here, but I think ultimately it's just going to be similar to the Master Chief Collection, which is a remake. It's just a bit of polish.
Yeah. Well, the leak says it's going to be revealed for PS5 this summer. It doesn't say it's coming out this summer. So I could maybe see the back end of the year start like next February, March time. And you know what? It's one of those titles that if it is true, it would be primed for maybe a developer direct. I know we said last week about Fable. Fable being delayed to next year almost knocks Fable automatically into the January developer direct for 2026.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think, like, could we almost like piece together as the months go on and games get moved, delayed, and talked about? You can almost piece together what that developer direct will look like based on the news we have. I could see them talking about Fable for quite some time, and then going into, we've also got updates on the Gears of War collection coming in April, May to kind of pad that out.
I feel like Fable is probably going to be the big game of next year that you're going to push hard. Probably getting close to like Starfield levels of pushing.
You think?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's a big fantasy adventure. I feel like that's something Xbox have traditionally been maybe a bit lacking in the catalogue. So I think having something like Fable, which is being beloved, it's getting the full remake treatment. It's something I think they should push hard. But going back to Gears, I almost feel like maybe a Remaster collection could have been something that they've been working on in the background for quite a while.
I hope so.
And they might have been sat on it. One of them go, you know what? It's a minor project for one of the studios. Just keep chipping away at it when you get a chance. And then if Gears E-Day has been postponed to 2026 instead of 2025, which is what the leak is suggesting, maybe that's just been a case of, right, we'll push that forward. All steam ahead with that, get that done, then switch back over at priority E-Day. Just to fill a gap.
I'm trying to think in terms of like what the collection would look like. It's almost they could go Metal Gear Solid and do a Gears of War 1, 2, 3, pause, have maybe a Judgment 4 and 5 bundle as like the second batch heading into E-Day. I can see them avoiding certain ones. Obviously, you've got the other spin-offs. You've got Gears Tactics and such. You've got Hive Busters as well, which I know there's a few of our channel members who always like encourage us to go play that one, which I think was a huge expansion off the back of Gears 5. I'm trying to think how they would bundle that, and then it's got me thinking about if this is a PlayStation release. We also covered on the podcast last week that Forza Horizon won't be getting a physical release. So in a way that actually leans into my Halo Master Chief Collection theory that actually if they drop the Gears collection, they could have maybe, as you said, if they've been working on it for a while, they could have maybe 1, 2, 3 lined up to go. And then if it is digital only, adding more games to that list, just making it like a perpetual collection series, and it will get 4 eventually, it will get Judgment eventually. You know what I mean? Like if they don't have to worry about discs and printing and sending things to post, then this could just be the new world we live in for anthology series, like collections of just like, yeah, it's Gears of War. And it just gets new stuff added over time. And if you, maybe even if you own the collection, you get a discount on E-Day when it comes out. Like some cross-pollination sales going on there as well. You know, like you go into the storefront. Like a bit like the Call of Duty hub, where all the last 4 or 5 entries and Warzone are just there in perpetuity. You could have a Gears hub. You could have a Halo hub. And like that, for Microsoft, is probably the best way, especially the way with Game Pass, how that works. Having a hub that connects all these games could work really well. We've seen Ubisoft are attempting it with Assassin's Creed, and are we just getting to a point where all these games live in perpetuity in the digital ecosystem?
I don't think
so. All you really need is a link to get them.
I don't think Xbox needs a hub so much for it, to be honest.
But it could be a gear, Richie. It could be a big gear that spins around, and every time it rotates, it's a new game. Think of the visuals.
Yeah, but I feel like you're just jumping into a hub just to pick a game when you could just pick a game from like the list. I'd rather Xbox focus on tidying up the storefront and then completely overhauling the user interface for Xbox, so it's actually user friendly rather than making weird pseudo game hubs within games to connect games together. I don't know. I don't see the benefit. I don't really see the benefit for Assassin's Creed.
I'm thinking if they're launching it on PlayStation, though, this is almost like a reset start point for the franchise. And let's face it, we talked last week about how well Horizon's doing in the pre-order sales. How do you think Gears would do on PlayStation?
I think it'd do really well, actually.
I think it'd be one of the best-selling games of the year on the platform.
I think what I'm expecting, basically, the Master Chief Collection edition of Gears of War. So they've already remastered the first one, remastered 2 and 3, put it into a single collection. So you just pay for and download a single collection, and then when you open up a go, you get picked between 1, 2, and 3. I don't think you need to overcomplicate it.
So your Master Chief Collection has Halo Combat Evolved, the Anniversary Edition. It has 2, 3 ODST, 4, and Reach. And I'm pretty sure they were released initially. Yeah, it was initially 1, 2, 3 ODST, and then we got 4 added the year after. I think later in the year after. There was a time gap. I know there's definitely a time gap.
You could maybe stick on Gears of War Judgment in there as well. And that would keep it to the Xbox 360 releases.
Yeah, Judgment's the spin-off prequel. I think it covers we know Baird from the main one, and Cole are in there, and then it adds some new characters in with them, so you kind of get like almost like a refreshed version of the squad that we know.
Yeah. And
so,
then
it'd be interesting.
Gears of War 4 is where the series made the jump onto the Xbox One, onto the next generation. So I would be thinking, I will probably go 1, 2, 3 in Judgment. So this is the Xbox, effectively, this is the Xbox 360 collection. Because then they could potentially release Gears of War 4 as a standalone, and Gears 5 as standalone on PlayStation later.
It'll be interesting over at Microsoft what their thought process is as well, because Gears of War 4 takes place like 20 odd years after the trilogy of 3. So it's Marcus Phoenix's spoilers, I guess, for a 7-year-old game, or actually older. Sorry, Marcus Phoenix's son. So it's that far in the future that it's kind of got not true any connections. It's more the remnants of the Locust that they're dealing with. So if you think about like a core trilogy that you would promote a collection as, I think you're right there and just saying like 1, 2, 3. Judgment potentially is like a little sweet in the pot kind of deal. And then maybe behind the scenes go like, does anyone care that much about 4 and 5? And then see, you know what I mean? Like test the waters a little bit. Then look at another one, because E-Day, we know E-Day is a prequel. It's set a decade or more before the events of the first Gears game. So in a way, do you want 4 and 5 kind of messing up the storyline for like a new audience that much? Or would you just, and you said it's all time and money, right? So if you'd have selected dedicated few, I personally would probably go, 1, 2, 3. Maybe throw in Judgment as like a bit of like expansion content to keep the collection alive for another year, and then drop E-Day as part of like, woohoo. Now you've got the whole team's entire timeline in its best format. Then
after that, you can see what the lay of the land is after you've done one, two, like a remaster collection and E-Day. See what the lay of the land is and go, do we remaster 4? Do we move 5 onto PlayStation? They don't need to chuck everything all in one go. And I think if they did chuck everything in one go, it might actually just become a bit messy. You might sometimes it is better to go, here's a taster. We're going to give you another taster in 20 minutes. Just to roll it out rather than go dump everything.
Yeah, and then we've got to remember the brilliance of Xbox is that all of those existing titles are backwards compatible on Xbox platforms. So it's not like on PlayStation where I sit here week in, week out and lament the lack of Infamous being playable on PS5 or the lack of Killzone being playable on PS5. If you own an Xbox Series X or S, you could just go back and play them through backwards compatibility, and you have them through Game Pass anyway. So, and
if you want proof of that, when we played Gears, there was some janky stuff with the multiplayer where we almost had to weirdly boot up an Xbox 360 menu in game, so that we could so we could access the friend system from the Xbox 360, so we could join each other's games. So that's the sort of stuff where they can really deal with polishing it for the Xbox side, and also not have a ton of jank in there for the PlayStation side.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, all things considered, is I'll be there day one for it on PlayStation. I think it'll be hyped. Looking at the Push Square article that this article the story comes from is there's a poll at the end, and I do like how Push Square do this sometimes. Out of the people who voted, so 1,500 votes, 61% say they'll be there day one. 29% say possibly, but I'll wait for a good deal. 6% say meh, I need to know more information, and 4% say no chance, I don't care about the series. So
now,
61% is a good chunk of people who are there day one.
The problem with this poll is they're missing one massive entry. Yes, but Xbox. I know Push Square is a PlayStation dedicated site, but because I'm the yes but Xbox, because it's not a game that I really care that enough about that I want to get a platinum trophy or anything, but I would like to play it, and because I have Game Pass, I'll just play it on Xbox. So I feel like that poll's missing one.
Yeah, I mean, we got the
rumor. I'm going to vote as good deal.
Yeah, we did get the rumor. I think the last time we had this was back in January, if I recall. It was Gears was rumored, and then Hellblade 2 was also set for later this year. Yeah. Which Hellblade makes total sense to me. The last one was out on PlayStation as well. I don't think it lit the world on fire when it came to Xbox release anyway. I think you and me, it was over in a weekend. I feel like it came and went, and all of our Discord, all of our chat was saying, done, enjoyed it, finished it, but it didn't leave any lasting impression and didn't feel worlds apart from the first entry. So I can see that trying to recoup some loss there by releasing it on PlayStation. Yeah. And we obviously now know as well we're also getting Age of Empires and Age of Mythology that's been caught up. So we are at a point now when you look at the Xbox library, for me, now Forza's officially coming in next month, just about 5-6 weeks away. It's literally only Gears and Halo that we don't have. The big one I'm holding out for still amongst all these rumours that's never really mentioned about is Insomniac's Sunset Overdrive, purely because it's such a standout, it's the best game on the Xbox One. It's the best exclusive game on the Xbox One.
But it's Insomniac.
Exactly, but it's who wins here? PlayStation win, Insomniac win, Xbox win, in a way. It
might be one where, it might be in one of those situations where who owns the rights to it might be a bit murky because of the subsequent purchase of Insomniac by PlayStation.
Yeah.
So unless there was a team passionate about bringing it, no one's actually interested in looking at it. You'd have to probably have a team passionate about bringing that forward to get the higher ups to actually sit down over the table and discuss who owns what part of what game, what the revenue split and all that kind of stuff would be. So I think it's just getting caught in the business trap where it's not an easy win.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them things where at least now Xbox are clearly open and willing to put things on PlayStation. It's not like that crazy scenario where no way would Xbox release a game on a rival platform. That argument's gone. So there's no longer will Sony and Microsoft play well? It's well, actually they're playing quite well now. We're getting Forza next month. One of their biggest franchises ever in the history of Xbox is jumping ship, and it's selling gangbusters according to pre-order numbers. Doing a bit of research into Sunset Overdrive on Xbox, the numbers don't crunch great. Sunset Overdrive apparently sold 1.8 million copies, netting sales of just short of 50 million on a budget of 42 million, meaning Insomniac's profit was roughly in the region of 567k. And that's not including, obviously, all the costs in between, marketing and... Well, actually, marketing should be in the budget, but you know what I mean.
It's one that...
Poor returns.
It is poor returns, but, I mean, quick glance at reviews, 9 out of 10 on IGN, it's 4.5 on Steam, that's with 10,500 reviews.
Well, we know it wasn't the game's fault, it was the console's fault.
Yeah.
It was the launch of the Xbox One that was an utter shit show.
This is where I was trying to get to. In a different world, say the world we live in now with Game Pass and things like PlayStation Plus more prominent, this could be in more hands because it's got the critical acclaim. It just didn't have the player base. So if it feels like one of them situations for Sunset Overdrive, ideally Microsoft and Sony sit down and go, who owns it and which of us is going to buy it off the other? So one of these has full rights to it, whether it goes with Insomniac or it transitions over to Microsoft fully.
Yeah. And you'd imagine...
I think transition over to Microsoft fully makes more sense because Insomniac are probably too busy to care.
Yeah, I think if this could be one of them mutually beneficial deals for everyone involved, because you've essentially got Microsoft go like, look, we've got this game that's, as you said, critically acclaimed, best game on our last gen platform, kind of just in the doldrums of Game Pass, no one really knows about it. What can we do to get it to PlayStation? Because I think it would sell more than 1.8 million on PlayStation.
Yeah.
So you promote it like Sunset Overdrive remastered from the team that made Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 and Miles Morales. Like, promote it as like almost like a PlayStation exclusive in a way from the studio that brought you Spider-Man.
Okay.
In the PS5 marketing.
I actually have a bit more information. So in August 2019, Insomniac was acquired by Sony. We knew that. Sean Layden stated that Sunset Overdrive 2 was not a priority for Sony and Insomniac. But in 2021, Sony registered the trademark for Sunset Overdrive. And it's been said that there's nothing stopping Insomniac developing a sequel to the game, which suggests that what we've been talking about in terms of who owns the rights is very clear Insomniac. Or there's clauses in there in that purchase where the numbers owed to Microsoft are already agreed upon.
Interesting. So I wonder if there's like a sell-on clause almost where Microsoft go like, look, we're keen on this. If you hold the cards now, PlayStation.
Yeah.
What studios do you have that are doing nothing at the moment? And if you ask me, I'd be like, well, you've just got rid of Blue Point's game and you've just got rid of Ben's game that will live service. So what quick turnaround can we have for a single player game that will guarantee sales because it's critically acclaimed? I'd get Ben or Blue Point. In fact, Blue Point, just make Blue Point. They're the masters of remasters.
Yeah.
And they're currently free.
Yeah, literally do either a remaster or remake of it.
Print some money. It's new to the PlayStation audience. It's got Spider-Man Insomniac DNA, and there hasn't been an Insomniac game on PlayStation that hasn't killed it in their entire studio's history.
And then consider a number 2 after that. If
let's
it's
see where it
well
lands.
received.
We've just came with a masterstroke plan, somehow on the back of a Gears of War conversation, but we got there.
A remaster remake of the original game, it probably puts it back in the difficult territory of discussing the rights, because Microsoft did publish the game.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's just a one-game publishing deal, a remaster remake might...
Yeah. But this is where they need to start talking business, and then realistically, Xbox are porting everything over to PlayStation. PlayStation have games making the jump over to Xbox. Like, we know they work for on MLB The Show. So it's like there are active relationships going on there, like now. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to go like, look, this works for both parties. Let's make some money. The blueprints are already there. The studio that worked on it is in your house now. So it's not like you've got literally a family member who worked on it in the house of Sony. Let's do this port. Let's make it happen. I just think it's a shame when games that are so critically received and well received, they're kind of let down by other factors. And I think it just happens sometimes. Like the planets don't align.
Yeah, it comes back to the weirdness of Sony sometimes, where in one hand they're to the studios, you go fulfill your passion projects, go do what you want. On the other hand, we want you to make games as a service. So sometimes they have both these coexisting. So I feel like Sunset Overdrive is one of them. If Insomniac turned around and went, our next game is going to be Sunset Overdrive to Sony, they'll probably get greenlit.
Yeah, I reckon they would.
But Sony, I don't think, care enough to push for that. So I think it has to come from probably Insomniac. So it would require another one of the studios that Sony own to go, we want to make a new Sunset Overdrive. So it's I think it is complicated. But you know what isn't complicated, Chris? Talking about the reviews for Split Fiction.
Split Fiction, that crazy new game from Hazelight Studios that just released.
Yes, that exact game. It released on March the 6th, if you didn't know. To universal acclaim. So safe Metacritic. Because it's currently on PS5 sitting at a 91. And that's based on 85 critic reviews. That is a solid 91.
Yeah, that's like to get over into that like 9 mark, into that like that final chunk of 100 is doing really well. Yeah, being 9 points off of near perfect scores, crack and stuff. And like we knew his like had like kind of some special sauce. We saw it in It Takes Two.
Yeah.
We saw it in what was it? Takeout, Get Out. Can't remember. Get Out.
It Takes Two. Oh, it's
A Way Out. Yeah, I couldn't remember then. I was getting them all mixed up. Get Out. And yeah, It Takes Two, obviously Game of the Year award winning, and we know like Hazelight Studios and Joseph Fares and like kind of the character and persona he brings to it. We knew to expect something fun and crazy, and we saw from the trailer it was like right up our streets. So the fact that it's actually released and it's absolutely smashing out of the park is great to see. To read a few reviews from it, we've got VGC 24/7. They give it the top score, 100 out of 100. Split Fiction, just like Hazelight's projects before it, will not only have you belly laughing throughout the experience, reminiscing about games, movies, and literature the game regularly reminds you of, but it also tugs at your heartstrings, and it'll have you wiping tears from your eyes. The game's biggest victory is that it reminds you that the endeavours, as wonderful as Split Fiction, and those that it pays homage to, were created by the passion, devotion, and authentic experiences of humans such as Zoe and Mio and the team over at Hazelight, not idea extracting machines trained solely for profit off the human ingenuity that's so rawly at the beating heart of Split Fiction. I don't think I've ever seen the word rawly wrote out. Like, I know what it's trying to say, but it doesn't sound right saying it out loud. Rawly.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's an
so
interesting
raw
choice
at
of
the
word.
beating heart. Yeah. Anyway, digress. GameSpot also gave it a 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100. Split Fiction could very well be the best cooperative game I've ever played. At the very least, I firmly believe it sets a new standard for the genre, and yet it's more than that. Split Fiction is a love letter to creativity, to stories, games, and the people who make them. It's funny, dark, joyous, childish, tender, cheesy, thrilling, and remarkable all at the same time, combining gorgeous environments, fantastic gameplay, and sheer spectacle, making Hazelight Studios' newest release an early contender for the best game of 2025.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of called this one to it a bit, because what I like about Hazelight is they make co-op games. They don't make single-player games that you can play with a friend or multiplayer games that you can only play with two people. They make games that are co-op and have to be co-op. And that restriction that they kind of put on themselves is what I think fuels their creativity. And seemingly from the reviews, that Split Fiction is kind of the epitome of that creative venture. It's like, what can we do with co-op gameplay that has to be co-op? Obviously, it's written right into the very core of the DNA of that game, where it's like you have two kind of characters, one's doing a fantasy thing, one's doing a sci-fi thing, merging these worlds together. Oh god, I need to play this game.
It's almost like they gave themselves the blueprint and said, like, every level, every time we reach a checkpoint, we have to flip the script. And they've stuck to that. I've watched about probably an hour of the opening of the gameplay, and I feel like in that hour opening, the two characters you play as, they change like location between the fantasy and the sci-fi. What feels like about 7 or 8 times. They go from riding vehicles, creatures, to flying, to melee fighting, to wall traversal, to shooting laser guns, and it's almost like similar in a similar vein to what made Astrobot so successful. Is that it didn't really rest on the same gimmicks and stuff for too long. Yes, you had the jet boots and stuff, but then you had the time freezing elements, then you had the chicken element, and then the dog, and then the rockets. And it did it almost like every other level. You were introduced to something new and fun and wacky, and I feel like Split Fiction does that. And as you said, almost like the restrictive limitations of it being co-op forces them to come up with new quirky ways, and they'll have learned a lot from It Takes Two and just kind of put that into a wider story, it seems.
They've put the limitation on everything about this game has to be co-op. It's not single player, it's co-op. So it means two people have to be doing stuff at the same time and working together.
Yeah.
And then how creative can we be within the confines of that? I just love that they're unashamedly not chasing any trends. It feels like it is such a unique game. I really need to play this game. I think
I've just got it up on Amazon.
I'm looking at the PlayStation Store.
It's $37.95.
Okay, it's 49 with with EA Play on PlayStation Store, or $44.99. So you're better off with the disc version, guys.
$37 on Amazon. That's not too bad at all, is
For
it?
a Game of the Year contender.
That's just the brand new came out this week.
And I don't think it's like ridiculous to call it that. Again, it's getting close. It's got 81 reviews at the time of recording, and it's 81 of them is positive, and it's getting a 91 rating. Most of these are hundreds. Like, if you go on Metacritic and just scroll, it's all hundreds.
I've done it.
You've bought it.
Yep.
I'm going to speak to my girlfriend when she gets in.
It's that I always say it's on the show as well. It's like kind of like put your money where your mouth is kind of thing. And I'm one of those where I always like supporting the devs who do like a good job. And I enjoyed It Takes Two a lot. And Split Fiction looks more in my kind of wheelhouse of what I want. And for £37.95, it's in that like kind of sweet spot where I'm not going, oh, it's nearly 70 quid, it's nearly 60 quid, it's nearly 50 quid, it's nearly 40, it's less than 40 quid. So I'm like, yeah, 20. Like if you go halfsies, like your girlfriend's a much bigger gamer than my wife is, so like that's one of them where you can at least go, do you want to go halfsies on it? Less than 20 quid each, and we could have this Game of the Year amazing title to play probably by the end of the weekend, potentially.
Yeah. I've done it as well.
I've done it.
I've done it as well.
Well, you didn't even need to check that one. Track my package. When will it be here by the end of my long weekend? Let's see. It says ordered. It's not quite dispatched yet. Come on, Amazon, get it together.
13th of March.
Oh, I didn't even check that.
Yeah, me either, actually. I just saw after the end. I just went by now.
Oh, well. We'll find it. We'll get that when it comes.
Okay.
And then obviously you get your friend code to share with someone potentially online. So
potentially, Chris, first look on Thursday?
We'll have to look at the timeline for The Last of Us, but very much potentially, yeah. That's what reviews do, folks.
I know. We were both already kind of in anyway, though.
I think I was just waiting for the right moment, and then I think that price is like, yeah. I'll support them while it's brand new, get them some sales numbers in.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, do I wait till Nat gets in from work and talk to her then? It's like, nah, just buy it. Just buy it. Just done.
Sweet. Yeah. But again, it's a big difference. Pricing something right, positive marketing, and I think Joseph Fares always seems to paint his whole studio's kind of ethos in a really good light as well. And more power to them for that. So yeah, Split Fiction, out now. Rave reviews, nothing bad about it, in fact. Did you actually see Joseph Fares respond to someone called it, oh no, I'm not buying this because it's another woke game?
No.
And he was like, I think his response was like something candid along the lines of like, I don't care what's between the person's legs as long as they're a good character.
Yeah.
Like a well-written character or something. I was like, yeah, he's not wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
so yeah. Oh no, it's two women in a game.
Isn't that kind of what woke basically is? Like it's been morphed into something stupid, but it was originally just equality. That's it. But
tell you what is really woke.
What?
Skateboarders and skating, Richie.
Are you talking about the emission of a certain former jackass from the remaster of Tony Hawk's 3 and 4? Because actually, it's going to be Tony Hawk's 3 and 4 remastered.
Is it?
Yeah.
You and Tom spoke about this.
We did.
I feel like the turnaround time has been drastic on this game, where it was like rumored, then we got a countdown within Call of Duty, and then every skateboarder out there was doing interviews, seemingly just didn't give a shit about their NDA, and it was just like, I've seen clips all over the internet.
What are you going to do? I'm in the game.
Just talking about it, and then all of a sudden, the countdown hit earlier on this week, and then boom, we've got the official confirmation that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 coming to PS5 and other platforms July 11th, so you don't even have to wait long. It's just a super quick turnaround time.
Yeah, so when me and Tom spoke about it, we're assuming it was going to be 3 and 4 because there's been talk of 3 and 4 pretty much since 1 and 2 came out. But then it seemed like that had been shelved, and it seems like it's been resurrected.
Well, it was Vicarious Visions, right, who made
1 and 2, yeah.
1 and 2, and then they got kind of folded into a support studio, right? So this one's not them, right?
I'm not sure, actually. I haven't seen who the developer is. I know Activision confirmed it.
From the Eurogamer article, it says developed with attention to detail by Iron Galaxy Studios and in collaboration with Tony Hawk and Activision. So I presume it looks like it's been handed over to Iron Galaxy Studios, who I'll have a look who they are. Based in Chicago, Illinois, with additional studios in Florida and Nashville, Tennessee. First projects founded in 2008, so it's not that old yet.
Part of the Arkham Origins to PC. Killer Instinct reboot. They've done some Switch ports, including the Skyrim port on Switch, which I actually own.
Rumbleverse? I remember Rumbleverse.
Part of Overwatch and Apex Legends.
So they're predominantly a port studio.
Yeah.
It looks like, which, yeah, I guess makes sense.
Which, if Vicarious Visions had already kind of started working on the game and the engine was already there and it is a remake, maybe this is a smart move.
Yeah. And actually looking at the history of the studio a little bit deeper, they also worked on the Windows port of Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. They worked on the Windows port of Spyro Trilogy, which were worked on by Vicarious Visions and Toys for Bob. So they've actually worked very closely with the studios that have done Tony Hawk's. So
are they owned by Activision? I'm trying to see if the ownership, because
it says no, just company type private.
Interesting, because
So
there's
it just
a
looks
lot
like
of
they're
like
just,
Activision Blizzard stuff in there.
I feel like these are one of those studios, because there's hundreds of studios in the world that work in third-party contracts with developers.
Yeah.
PlayStation, Nintendo, they all use them, and what you'll find is they quite rarely even acknowledge them until the end of the credits. In like the find a small print of, oh, by the way, this 100-person team worked on major chunks of our game, and we just farmed it out to them in quiet. But the only thing you ever see is the main studio over the headline. And rightly so. I think Nintendo get a bit of shit for it, right? Because sometimes they don't even name the people who've worked on it.
When it comes to remake, especially like remakes and remasters, Nintendo can be a bit cutthroat, and it's not good. It's not a good look. Just stick to the people in the credits. It costs you nothing.
Yeah, because usually we have to wait until the game comes out for people to finish it to read the credits, just to post an article about, oh, it turns out this studio helped with the Mario whatever Sunshine remake. Because, yeah, Nintendo will not acknowledge it at all, even though they're actively paying them and contracting them to work. It's a weird games industry thing. But yeah, so it looks like this one's not been worked on by Vicarious Visions, and it's Iron Galaxy Studios.
Interestingly, though, back in February, by the looks of it, CEO Adam Boyes left Iron Galaxy. Oh, he left in August. He was CEO from June 2016, and there was more job cuts. I think I'm reading a GamesIndustry.biz article, and they laid off 66 members of their team. That was published in the 5th of February 2025.
Yeah.
Before this game was announced.
Yeah. Vicarious Visions rebranded, by the way, in 2022 to Blizzard Albany, which is a shoddy name compared to what they were before. So yeah, they did Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, and then Black Ops Cold War, Warzone, Diablo. So it seems like they're just a support studio as part of Blizzard and Activision now.
It feels like the studio they were when they were making Tony Hawk's is gone.
Yeah, that was the last of them. And they've probably all jumped ship and gone elsewhere.
But it's potential that Iron Galaxy becomes the studio that Vicarious Visions was.
Yeah.
So
it's so weird how games work. But yeah, back to Tony Hawk's though, Richie.
Yeah.
Quick turnaround time. I know you really, really enjoyed going back to the 1-2 remake.
I've reinstalled it.
Overall vibes of this one? You and Tom were much bigger into this than I ever was.
I'm happy with 3, but 3 is probably the game I've actually least familiar with of the original 4.
4 was a mess, right?
No.
Like that didn't 4 kill the franchise?
No,
pretty much.
No, like Tony Hawk's Underground and stuff came after that was fine. Tony Hawk's 4. So what Tony Hawk's 4 did is after 3 games they changed up the formula a little bit. So rather than just being like Tony Hawk's 1, 2, and 3 very arcadey, you drop into level, you got 2 minutes. Yeah, and it's the goal to do it. That's what the remakes are.
Skate.
Yeah, spell skate, do make your biggest combo, that kind of thing. What Tony Hawk's 4 did is you dropped into the level and you could just free roam that level.
Right,
and
like
there was
mini open world.
Yeah, basically a mini open world, and there was other skaters or other characters within that world you could go talk to get specific missions. So the same kind of ideas of the missions that were in 1, 2, and 3 were there, but more as quests. But crucially, you had that openness to the level, which they've removed. So the Tony Hawk's 4 remaster will be in the same format, as far as Activision have confirmed this, as Tony Hawk's 1, 2, and 3. Which feels like they're taking something away.
I was going to say, so the original structure of the original Pro Skater 4 was that. So what are they going to do? Just like menu select?
Well, I don't know. I'm guessing you're just going to load into the level and instead of having characters that you could go talk to get specific missions, which I personally felt added give the game a bit more personality.
Oh, yeah. Looking at
it just meant I think you're just going to have the same list of probably the same objectives, but just as a list.
Yeah, it says here the fanbase first caught a potential overhaul of 4's design when the PlayStation Store description mentioned epic 2-minute format in relation to the 4th title. Kotaku published an article that says that the 2-minute format of the first 3 will match the format of the first 3 games, and each will feature a list of challenges to complete. This represents a significant structural alteration, as the original title allowed you to free roam the map on your skateboard and find challenges in your own time. This won't be the case. But so yeah, it just sounds like you've got objectives, go do it.
I think there was it might even mean the first level, the college level in Tony Hawk's 4, where when you activated a certain mission, it basically kickstarted like a kind of parade thing, so you could kind of traverse from one floor to the next. So I don't know how you could keep that if you just jump into the level and it's set missions, because you had to do a certain goal while transitioning across from floor to floor. So the goals were a bit more, some of them were a bit more intricate, a bit more interesting than just get a high score. So I just, it does feel a little bit of a shame from what I'm reading, where it feels like some of the charm that is specific to 4 is gone. Yeah,
there's a couple of the comments on the Push Square articles saying things like, well, just focus on 3 at this point. If it's not got the same free roam, it isn't really Pro Skater 4. It's just 3 with bonus levels that aren't designed for 2-minute runs at all. So a couple of people are clearly disappointed.
Well, yeah, the levels were much bigger because you could free roam them.
Yeah, and then the other controversy is Bam Margera's not in it. Who was like a prominent folk. Like, that was the time when like Jackass was all at its height, and a lot of, if not all, probably the Jackass members were in it, featured at some point. I feel like it's kind of DLC or skins.
I mean, he was actually a pro skater as well.
Yeah.
Where I think some of the others were skaters, but not pro. So they were. I don't think they were playable characters. They may have featured as like side characters.
I think there were skins, because I feel like you've also had Spider-Man was in the because Activision also did the Spider-Man games at the time, so I think
Spider-Man and Iron Man were in them.
Darth Maul was in one as well.
Kiss was in one of them. The band Kiss was in one of them.
So they've done crazy things with skins and covers. Doesn't, like, without getting too off topic from games, but doesn't Bam have like tons of like issues right now in real life, like in the public eye and drugs and stuff like that? Don't take my word for it.
I don't follow everything he does, but from what I understand, he has pretty much, since he's kind of fallen away from fame, struggled with drugs and alcohol abuse.
Right, yeah. I feel like he doesn't speak to any of the Jackass crew anymore. So, I'm just pulling on bits that I've heard in different podcasts and shows.
I've seen like a few. I think Steve-O from Jackass does a podcast, and I think he talked a bit about it before. And there's a case of Steve-O's one of them was probably very deep in like hardcore drugs and stuff. It openly admits this stuff, but now he's completely sober, and he's kind of like, you can only lend a hand to the guy, but if he's not willing to take it, he's not willing to take it. It's kind of one of them situations. Yeah. I might be completely wrong on this shit, so don't sue me.
Yeah.
Feel free to correct me in the comments. Like,
have you seen the not the meme, I guess the Hulk Hogan tweet that went round back in probably 5 years ago or something now? With was it Ryan Dunn passed away, right? He was one of the original Jackass crew, and Hulk Hogan posted a picture of him with Bam saying, "Damn, Bam, I wish you were still with us. I sure would love to hang out again. My brother, love you, miss you, Hulk Hogan." And he tweeted back to him saying, "I'm alive, brother, miss you too." We're clearly just getting two guys mixed up who he knew. Which is like, oh, imagine saying, I wish you were back with us. You're not dead. But yeah, looking at some of there's a thread on it on Reddit, of course, because there's a Reddit thread for everything about why he's not returning, and pretty much everyone just saying, yeah, it's to do with like his current living situation and drugs and stuff, and he's not in the right place where I'd imagine Activision, Microsoft want him front and center in the marketing in the game and stuff. He could be added on later on, if that's the case.
I think it's one of them. They've probably what they did with 1 and 2 is they started introducing. They try to keep the original cast of skaters in it, but also add some more modern skaters, like who are from the current generation into the games. So if you're gonna like, you know what, we're gonna cut someone who probably hasn't been a professional skateboarder at this point in over 10 years. Yeah, you can come and replace him with someone else. Someone more relevant to the skateboarding. Yeah,
it's one of them things with a remake, I guess. It's like, is it a true remake if it's missing the original characters? But then when it's real world people, there's more implications to that. But it's one of those things where it's like, obviously, hopefully he just finds the help that he needs.
Yeah, 100%.
The game will probably do fine without him, unfortunately.
Yeah, and cutting him doesn't change the game. He's a character in the game, but you can be someone else.
Yeah,
it doesn't change it's not going to change your experience unless you are a die-hard Bam Margera fan.
Yeah, it ain't going to change my experience because this is one I'll be passing on anyway.
I'm going to keep my eye on it. I'm very interested in this, but actually it'll cost Activision. It's bought by Xbox. Game Pass,
baby.
This is a perfect Game Pass title. Just have it in your library. Shall we keep moving on, Chris, to
certainly
The Last of Us? Will there be a Last of Us 3? Would you put money on that?
Yes. The Last of Us.
Neil Druckmann wouldn't put money on it. He's advising people not to.
He doesn't need to, he gets paid to.
Yeah.
What's this from?
So, Neil Druckmann says, don't bet on there being a Last of Us Part 3. This could be it. It seems like it's come out of nowhere, the story, to be honest.
So this was an interview with Variety, which is predominantly TV and movies, and the build-up to the new series starting. I think, like cards on the table, this is one of PlayStation's biggest franchises. It's the biggest studio in Naughty Dog, arguably. Why wouldn't they do a Part 3? Especially when Neil's been on record before saying like he's got the makings of a script. He just needs to sit down and work. And obviously we know now that they were deep in the work on Heretic Prophecy.
Yeah.
And Factions, yeah, which has now had the plug pulled on it. So their resources are changing. But for all intents and purposes, I fully expect Intergalactic to be the next game, probably coming out back end of next year. And then they'll get to work. I think they've already started working at not pre-production, assets management, all that kind of stuff that just gets the ducks in a row to wrap up on Intergalactic and then pivot over. We know Naughty Dog in the past have done that. Remember, they made Last of Us 3 while they were deep in work on Uncharted 4. So they're more than capable of sizing up and scaling out and doing 2 projects at once. Similar to Santa Monica at the moment. They wrapped up on God of War Ragnarok while Cory Barlog's over there doing his own thing that we'll probably learn about in a year or so. So I think this is Neil being coy. While they're doing the press tours inevitably for the new TV series, he doesn't want to get bogged down in questions about the game all the time. He wants to focus on the actors, the show, the frontrunners, HBO, the marketing for that. I think this is more of a subtle tactic to go like, look, there isn't a third game. Let's focus on the series instead.
Yeah. I think you're kind of right there. I can see a world without The Last of Us 3 because Uncharted is currently on hiatus and has been for quite a while now. So it's not unrealistic that could happen. I think crucially, though, his focus is on The Last of Us TV show and Intergalactic Heretic Prophet. Yep. He's probably not thinking about the next game until Intergalactic is pretty much ready to come out.
Yeah.
And you never know what the appetite for the studio could be. He might have sketches for a plot for Last of Us Part 3, But if he pitches that to the team and the team don't want to do it, this is the impression I get from Naughty Dog. It's not just Neil Druckmann and an ever-changing cast of characters. It does feel like everything they work on is a passion project. So if the team don't want to work on another Last of Us and want to do a sequel to Intergalactic, that's probably what they'll do. And then you might be 10 years, 15 years from the last Last of Us release by the time
which makes the Uncharted fan in me die a little bit inside.
Same. But this is why I'm saying Blue. Yeah. We've always said give Uncharted to someone else.
Bend and Blue Point sat there in the wings. And again, we would have had a Last of Us fix if Factions had seen the light of day. We probably would have got it this year. Or last summer, in fact. It was due last summer. So we would have got like that little interstitial, like, carry me over, please. We didn't get a Left Behind style DLC for part 2, which is another shame. We could have had a little smaller experience for a couple of hours in that universe at some point. The reason I don't think it is because the way they've openly spoke about the TV show, and again, we've said before, I don't want them to Game of Thrones it, where they get to the end and I don't want to sit down with you week in, week out to talk about the Clickercast Season 5, and we're talking about things we've not played in the game. That will be such a weird place for us, and I don't think I'd like that. As someone who's loved the games even before the show came to be, that would feel wrong for me then going into potentially a third game, having watched the TV show finale, and it just wouldn't sit right with me as a fan of the game first and foremost.
I could accept that reality if Naughty Dog turned around and went, we are not making a Last of Us Part 3. We've decided to continue our stories for The Last of Us on through the TV show alone while we work on other stuff with the games. Because then at least you have that point where you go, okay, the show's now doing its own thing beyond it. Neil Druckmann's involved. The team, the original writers were all involved. But the games have ended.
Yeah, sad times. But I think the timeline you've put out's right, where Intergalactic next, then in Last of Us 3, and then I think the studio's then again free to either pursue a sequel to Intergalactic if it sells well. Again, we always say it's a known quantity with Naughty Dog. They haven't missed a beat yet. If Intergalactic sells poorly and maybe critically, again, I very much doubt it will, but critically it's received poorly, you might just not see a sequel. So then the studio's like, oh shit, double down back on IP we know and love. They might be forced to go back to Last of Us or Uncharted because it's a known quantity. And PlayStation is certainly going to say yes to that. Uncharted? Fuck yes.
This might be where Neil Druckmann's at, where he's looking at it and going, Intergalactic, it's an unknown quantity at the moment. I think probably as it gets closer to the end of development, you probably have a good idea how it's going to be received or not. Because you, at the end of the day, you're a gamer, you're probably playing it and going, this is a good video game.
Yeah.
So, but he might not want to, like, commit to the next Last of Us if the studio going, Intergalactic is literally the best thing we've ever done. This is the studio going to the next level again. So maybe that's a case of we don't want to commit to The Last of Us. If that would be then a step back down.
Yeah.
So it's too early for him to commit.
It is. You know what? I can also see a world, calling it now. Neil finishes the show, kickstarts Intergalactic, does The Last of Us Part 3, because he will, and then he leaves.
Yeah, I could see that.
I don't think he'll be the top dog at Naughty Dog for the beyond Part 3. I think that'll be like his magnum opus. It's his final hurrah goodbye. Intergalactic sequel will be in safe hands by whoever's currently second in command at Naughty Dog, second, third, fourth. All of them will get a career bump. He'll go on to do his own stuff beyond that. And I wouldn't be surprised, now he's had his taste of TV and he's worked so successfully with Craig Mazin, I could see him making the jump over into just TV director.
I could see him moving to be in a role at Sony that kind of bridges the gap between video games and TV, in like an executive producer kind of role. So someone who's there to look at PlayStation's offerings, then pair that up with Sony's like TV studios and movie studios.
A bit like Herman Hulst did with First Party.
Yeah, in a bridging role, because he seems to be well suited to it.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of done it with Uncharted, he's doing it with The Last of Us, or he could end up just doing the Cory Barlog thing where he's going to go, right, I'm going to be the studio executive, but I'm going to promote other people under me, so the studio's going to work on multiple projects. And I'm not going to directly oversee any single project.
Yeah, and that's what any leader wants, right? They want their team to grow, flourish, and then essentially replace them. Like, the best leaders want to be replaced eventually. Yeah, you need your successors in line.
Sometimes the best thing you can do for your team is get out the way.
Yeah, well,
it genuinely is. Like,
get out the way so they can make a DualSense controller as well.
Yeah, there's a Last of Us DualSense controller. What's your thoughts?
I think it looks horrible.
Oh, thank God it's not just me.
Yeah, not only is this oddly timed, right? The Last of Us is a decade-old franchise at this point, and now we get a branded controller. For those who haven't seen it, and for audio listeners, it's essentially your traditional DualSense controller. It's two-tone, so it's black, matte black across the top, and it's white on the sticks and the kind of the base shade, the lower base of it, with Last of Us symbols kind of embossed into the black that you can't really see in the imagery. You've got like the little symbols for the pickaxe and the brick and stuff, scavenge logos, and then you've got white, almost like tattoo designs for the Firefly logo, how to say, the butterfly moth that Ellie has on a tattoo, and you also get a wolf, of course, the Washington Liberation Front. And yeah, there's just nothing really about this DualSense, Richie, that makes me go like, "Ooh, that is sexy." Firefly, that's hard to say. Try and say that. Firefly logo.
Firefly logo.
See, there's something in there that catches you out. Why isn't it central and symmetrical? Well, it looks so often wrong.
On the matte black stuff, I don't mind the Firefly logo itself. It's just all the gloss black emblems around it just kind of look chucked on there. It just looks a bit of a mess. And then the two-tone white, especially with the white thumbsticks, looks cheap. It looks tacky.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't look great.
So like when I do, like, I'm not like designer or anything like that, but when I do our thumbnails and stuff, I'm always aware of like negative space, like things not being too close to borders and stuff like that, and the symmetry of all things, and just how they look in a front on viewfinder. And I know it's a controller, so it does have different dimensions, and maybe the pictures just aren't doing it justice, but there's something about like the moth's diagonally slanting to the left, the Firefly logo is diagonally slanting to the right, the wolf logo is seemingly like not central to the actual part of the controller. And then everything else is kind of scattered throughout. And I don't know if it is the photo or the lighting. Like maybe the other logos in the background kind of consume the white logos a little bit better in real life. I think the control from the back looks a bit better with the white R2, L2 buttons juxtaposed against the black. That looks not too bad. But the front on view is like, who's paying 60, 70 quid for this? Unless you're a true diehard Last of Us fan. I have an old school DualShock, Richie,
and it's just got The Last of Us written on the back. Yeah,
I just have one of the little symbol stickers for the light bar that I got years ago, and like that's all it needed to be. Just a black controller with the Firefly logo in the middle and some kind of like maybe cool pattern in the black part.
Remove the PlayStation button and replace it with the Firefly logo.
Oh, that would have been a good shout. That would have been too unique, but that would have been a good shout.
But it's all you're doing is a slight remold of the one part of a controller and one button. Would it actually be that much more expensive to produce than the rest of it? And I think
possibly not.
Sony, if they're hardcore committing to this two-tone white and black thing throughout the PS5, and it's still ugly, guys. Like there's sometimes the two-tone has landed nice. This isn't one of them cases. The original controller, still ugly. Just don't like it. That works. The metallic red and black that Chris is showing works. The white and black doesn't. The metallic blue one works as well.
Just dark metallic with the two-tone. I think it's white. White just contrasts so harshly against any other color. The actual advert, the little kind of like mini advert they've put out on the YouTube channel for the DualSense, the advert's much nicer than the controller.
Yeah.
But back to the point of this is obviously in line with the new season coming out, because it's very late in comparison. We've had part 1 remastered, we've had part 2 remastered. Why are you releasing it several months and years after the relevant games have dropped? Like, this should have been released alongside. We got the Ragnarok controller alongside Ragnarok.
Yeah, I think this one's a miss, unless you're a massive Last of Us fan and a collector of Last of Us merchandise. This is a miss for me.
Yeah, same.
Luckily, there is better looking controllers, so you don't have to buy it.
I've still got my eyes, everything. I can't even talk tonight. This drink's quite strong. The teal DualSense controller, still waiting on a sale. Waiting on a sale.
I can't justify another DualSense purchase. There's 4 of them in my house.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get the Helldivers one either, because that was £75 for the Helldivers one. But it looked a lot better. It had the logo in the middle. It had like a cool like war theme with the Helldivers like yellow dashed across it. But it just baffles me that it's the Helldivers one was $74.99. So
I do feel if you like replace the PlayStation buttons with like an emblem specific to the franchise, it makes them so much more of a collector's piece.
Yeah,
rather than just
$74.99 for this one as well.
Well, at least Chris, in the UK, you can now rent a PlayStation for as little as £11 a month.
Is that a Last of Us PlayStation?
No, that's just a digital only one.
What is this?
So in the UK, you can now lease a PlayStation for digital only for £11 a month, with a disc drive for £12 a month, or if you have £19 a month, you can rent a PS5 Pro. If you want a PSVR 2, it's $18.50 a month, or £20 a month if you want access to Horizon Call of the Mountain 2. Or if you want a PlayStation Portal, it's £6.50 a month. So if you want access to these consoles without owning them, you can. So the lease routes are available. I'm reading this from a Eurogame article. You can choose from a 12, 24 or 36 month term contract. This seems a bit weird. I'm not sure. I should state that everything is run by a company called Raylo, and pretty much Sony will tell you to deal with Raylo if something goes wrong.
Yeah, looking at the website just a little bit deeper, you've got like your different 12, 18, 24 month options on them. Do I know about like things like, what if my device gets damaged? It says if you return the device was damaged, we may charge you for the cost of repair as outlined by the repair charge in the agreement. You can opt in for insurance at checkout, which covers you. And then if you look at the end of it, what happens when it's time to upgrade? At the end of your lease, you can simply upgrade for free and return your old device. You have 14 days to transfer your data, plenty of time if you don't wish to upgrade. Keep the device and continue paying monthly. Cancel your lease and return your device. If you're unable to return your device, you'll need to pay a fee. So it's kind of similar to what you would expect from like a mobile phone contract, it looks like.
Yeah.
Except for at the end of a mobile phone contract, you keep your phone traditionally. This seems to be hand it back.
It's possible that mobile phones may move away from that, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexible tariffs now that are out where you spread the cost over a longer time.
Yeah. As the price of handsets going up and up and up and up, it's entirely... And now battery life isn't as crippling to phones as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I could see a world, you probably know more, but see a world where you can get a lower tier contract for, say, 24 months, and at the end you have to give back your phone.
Yeah, I think the reason it doesn't play that much into that market is because your phones go through a lot more wear and tear than a console that just sits in your room and doesn't do anything. I think if you have like a teenager who's got a phone for 3 years, unless they really, really look after it, it's probably going to be worth jack shit come 3 years down the line. Whereas a PS5, 3 years into its cycle, like say like right now, if you had a day one at launch 2019 and you give it back after 3 years and maybe upgrade to a Pro, it's probably closer akin to like a car manufacturer deal now, where you usually give your car back at the end, or you do pay a balloon payment. Yeah. But you're right in saying like the price of things is a bit like warped at the moment, where handsets, top tier handsets for phones are worth like what, $1,500. PS5 Pro's worth what, 800, 900 quid. So you're kind of middling a little bit in the numbers, but more options are always a win in my eyes. Just hopefully just don't get caught out by like charges and insurance fees and stuff.
There's a more greater meta conversation, I think, around this about it going as consumer technology. Now, you mentioned cars as a perfect example, way outstripped like the average earnings.
Yeah.
So in the past, like our parents, leasing a car was probably not heard of when they were in their early 20s, mid 30s. You would buy it, but now leasing is basically the way you have a car. For most people, have a car, and as consumer electronics starting to go in the same way. So it's a case of, are these the great conversation, which I don't think we need to go into depth for here, is this stuff starting to become too expensive? Are we pushing so far ahead that the cost is rising and rising and rising and rising for market reasons that literally people can't keep up with the actual market?
I think it is. Like you and me have said, I know we get old, we've gotten a little bit older and stuff, but like my thought process for purchasing games has changed like drastically in the last couple of years. And I think it is something to do with obviously getting older. I've got a child now, so monthly spend is a lot more closely monitored. But just I think when we look around, especially this time of year, March, April, when every fucker puts things up, like your council tax, your bills, your water's going up, your TV license is going up, all your suppliers put stuff up. You're essentially being crunched for probably another £30-40 this time now than you were last year. And I guarantee your wages haven't gone up in line with it too. So then those expensive purchases like a luxury item, which gaming is a luxury hobby for all intents and purpose, buying a console, buying that, back to cars, like they're not a necessity, but you kind of do want them and need them as part of like your everyday life.
Yeah.
And as gamers, you want to be at the forefront of that technology. So yes, if you've got your latest iPhone, you've got the latest new car, you've got that, you probably are looking at just squeezing that extra bit of money out. So spreading it out on finance, it's the way of the world right now.
Yeah, well, actually, quite interestingly, I saw like a YouTube short of some dude breaking. It was more focused in America, breaking down like the cost of things from in the 1980s compared to now. Like looking at things like house price and all sorts of different metrics, and going basically in like the 1980s and into the early 90s, the luxury goods cost quite a lot of money relative to your earnings. However, stuff that you require to exist was relatively cheap. So back in the 1980s, by skimping on luxury goods, so you didn't go buy an expensive TV because that was like so multiple times your monthly wage.
Yeah, so expensive,
You could actually again get the money to put a down payment on a house. Again, this was based in America. However, in 2025, what's happened is the cost of luxury goods is relatively cheap, and the cost of living is very, very high, like 10, 15, 20-fold higher. So actually skimping on luxury goods doesn't even make a dent in it.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of disproving, the whole myth where people go, if people stop having avocado toast and Starbucks coffees, they could have put a down payment, save up for a mortgage, and the reality is just not that at all. Yeah, that's what I mean by the meta conversation. Is not wanting to go too deep.
It's everyone to consider. Like I remember my first proper new family computer. I think my parents paid probably about £1,500 for it. Yeah, and by today's standards, you could go and get a Chromebook for like £150. Yeah, and it does probably the same, if not infinitely more.
But some form of computer in the house is now a necessity rather than a luxury. For us, we didn't need a PC in our house when we were growing up. We both had them.
Yeah.
Can you imagine growing up in a house now that doesn't have at least one smartphone?
Yeah, you need it for things like your email and contact and like work. I use my phone a lot for like work-related things.
I use my phone for work-related things when I'm in work.
Yeah.
It's just a convenient thing.
It's a change well, but without being a financial thing, I think. Yeah. If more options available, you can still go buy it outright. You can still get it on finance and stuff. Again, we both use the Xbox All Access one, and that worked out great for you and me. So if it's your route of choice, then more power to you.
I like the Xbox All Access one because you are financing it over a period of time interest-free, where this is leasing, so you do not own the console. It is a slightly different ballpark. But let's move on to the last few stories. So Until Dawn Remake's developers Ballistic Moon has effectively been shut down. That hasn't went well for them. Yeah.
No.
What happened? Yeah. Why do you think... we've probably talked about it before, but why do you think the game sold so poorly?
Price. They brought it out at full price, didn't they? If I recall.
I thought it was like I don't think it was full price. The full price now is like 78 quid, but
it was expensive at launch. I remember. I'll try and find out how much it was at launch. Until Dawn Remaster price at launch. 60 quid.
Yeah.
So the same as what it was when it came out, if not more expensive than when the first one came out back in 2015.
Yeah, it's one of them when you compare it to the price of Split Fiction, which is 45 quid on the PlayStation Store. That stings.
Mm-hmm.
For a game that already exists as well, and a lot of people have already.
Yeah, there's a couple of people in the comments also pointing out like it happens more than you realise. $40 for the original Luigi's Mansion 2 game. Was it 2 or 3? 3 that came out. Port at Switch, $60. It's like there's a $20 increase for a part of an old game that used to be $20 cheaper.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think poor timing. I think when it came out as well.
I think there was a lack of appetite for people for it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it had the PC release as well, if you recall. Remaster released it was October, so it came out the right month.
But if no one's interested in the product,
it's just the hunger for it. Yeah,
I remember a lot of the Discord around it was okay, but why?
It's good because the movie's coming out and it's cheap to do a remaster, and unfortunately for Ballistic Moon, as cheap as it was, didn't sell enough. They laid off a couple of people. Well, laid off about 40 employees back in September, and I think they put the rest of the staff on kind of like hiatus status. And then obviously between September and now, no new projects have seemingly materialized, and that's what happens to a studio when you ain't got any work coming in. You can't pay people, so you reduce headcount and then hope something comes along. But currently, there's no employees, there's no public relations, there's no marketing department left, so that talent's gone. So Ballistic Moon, R.I.P.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to say. They haven't released any statements or anything, so there's not really anything to go off.
No marketing team.
Yeah,
I think they're gone.
So officially the studio hasn't been shut down, but there's basically no studio left to shut down.
Yeah, they're essentially in a coma with one outcome by the looks of it.
Yeah, well, let's just keep moving on. Amazon announces GameLift streams. And this is from our friend John Scar over at Cloud Dosage Gaming. You should go check them out if you haven't already. If you're interested in cloud gaming, these guys are probably some of the best people to follow in the industry.
Absolutely.
So Amazon GameLift Streams is a new, I'm reading directly from the article right now, a new cloud gaming tool that lets developers stream games straight to gamers. Since 2016, Amazon GameLift has powered multiplayer games with dedicated servers, handling up to 100 million concurrent users in a single game. But developers have been asking for more than just servers. They want a way to stream games without building their own cloud infrastructure. That's where Amazon GameLift Streams comes in. So basically, this is a very much developer-focused tool rather than a consumer-focused one.
Mm-hmm.
To basically seemingly enable people to use Amazon Web Services to a next level when it comes to integrating their cloud gaming options.
Yeah, this is sounding awfully familiar to me, Richie. This sounds like Google Stadia white labeling. We are going to lease out our technology to other publishers and developers to put their games on storefronts without the need of being connected to the Stadia platform. Step in, Amazon Luna Mark II. Amazon GameLift gives big studios and developers the opportunity to put their games on platforms without the need or connection to Amazon Luna. Big studios like, reading from the article again, Ubisoft, Zynga, WB, who did Batman Arkham Knight, and Meta, the ability to use games elsewhere. Unlike services like GeForce Now. Yeah. How it works, again, reading into it, Amazon GameLift Stream works. Latest attempt, getting ahead of myself, but it's not meant for gamers, it's for developers and publishers.
I think
there's a place for it. There's a market for it.
I think this is very similar to the white label Stadia stuff, but slightly different because I think Amazon have already diversified into that probably right from the start, where I think Amazon probably see Luna as one strand in their cloud gaming option. Hosting other people's stuff is another strand, which is seemingly probably the priority there. And they've also got the game publishing leg. Stadia was all Google was all Stadia and nothing else till they tried to do white label, and they were messing on with things like, what were their treadmills called?
Peloton.
Peloton's there too. They got into Peloton, then that didn't work, and then gone. So it feels like Amazon have probably laid the groundwork a bit better than Google did for this to be a success.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's also a game releasing this week, Jackbox Party Packs, which we know about. They've got a new game launching straight to smart TVs using this Amazon GameLift. So the app, which Jackbox says is going to come to other platforms as well, is going to launch in beta on a couple of brand smart TVs this spring, with more to follow. It's going to include a small collection of games from the Jackbox Party Pack collection. And it plans to add its entire catalogue on the app, offering a paid subscription service with no ads in due course. This kind of thing works for a Jackbox Party Pack, because then people who don't have a console and they just got a TV go, oh, what? It's no different than, remember back in the day, you'd use like your Sky remote and it would have like a bubble breaker game on it or something. It's essentially the same thing. You're hoping your existing TV audience has a new way to interact with your games. And if you've got someone who doesn't have a console, maybe doesn't know anything about gaming, and on their smart TV down the bottom corner next to the Hulu app and the HBO Max app, it just says, play games with your family, they click it and it goes, for $4.99 you can play these 10 party games, and there's a trailer that maybe piques their interest and they're having friends around at the weekend or for Halloween or something. That's
it. Like, say, both me and you have played Jackbox before. If we were around a friend's house who's never played Jackbox, and like for house parties and we have a few drinks, like, pick Jackbox, and you got a smart TV, it's on there. You don't need to buy a console. That's where I think Jackbox works.
Yeah. And the article, very, very deep, brilliant article from John again. John's news gaming journalist over in Canada. You should go follow him at socials. He goes in and say, like, does it spell the end for Amazon Luna? I think it's that thing where you can't help but draw similarities between Stadia, thinking about, like, does Luna then just get folded into GameLift streams instead of being its own Luna service? Like, does it continue in a reduced role, really keep it alive because of the Amazon Prime thing?
It's clearly not been a priority.
I mean, we, again, fully intended to cover it, and then the reality is it's just nothing, nothing came of it.
GameLift could be the thing that actually, I think, potentially could keep Luna running.
But we said that with Stadia as well, didn't we?
Yeah, but the problem is, with Stadia's white label failed, if GameLift succeeds, because this is seemingly developers asking for more out of Amazon. Yeah. So they've provided what they've been requested. So Luna then becomes a use case, an example, a use case. So because they're keeping these servers running anyway, because Stadia stayed alive until they pretty much got rid of the white label. Then they killed it. So I think this could be more successful than Stadia. I don't think Luna's going anywhere good. But I don't think I'm not scared for its demise.
I'm sure someone in our audience will have tabs on it. I wonder at what point Amazon Luna surpasses Google Stadia in terms of age. Stadia had like, what, a 2-year head start?
I would talk from the American release or the worldwide release.
Yeah, the first initial release I would give them. Once they're out of beta.
It's probably there. Stadia's been dead for about 2 years. If not longer.
No, I thought it died last January.
Was it last January or the one before?
I'm not sure. I feel like we all ported our old controllers over last year. The beginning of last year. Or maybe it was 2023.
I'm thinking
my brain's just warped in time.
Yeah, January 2023. 2 years ago.
Damn. I guess, we've been doing this podcast for... how many episodes now? 82.
81, 82.
So that's coming... 82. 82, so that's like, what, a year and a half? So that makes sense, yeah. I always look to socials to get a good just like barometer on these things. Amazon Luna's Twitter, which again is not a metric to measure anything by, especially now Elon Musk owns it. Still only got 37,000 followers. Like, that to me does not give off big brand energy at all.
It almost feels like a company the size of Amazon, it's difficult to keep it that low.
Yeah, you would expect, like, just through self-promotion and getting the name out there and just, again, general gamers, like, we're big fans of Kind of Funny, right?
Yeah. They did a lot of Amazon Luna stuff early days.
They did early days, yeah, when they get paid for it. But then Greg Miller, he's got 1.1 million.
Yeah.
Like, Amazon Luna don't even have half of that. In fact, they don't even have a tenth of that. And they are an actual platform.
But I feel like Amazon have fallen in the same trap Stadia have, is they haven't utilised their strengths properly. Like, have you ever heard Jeff Bezos talk about Amazon Luna?
Not really. He
Why
was
the
talking
hell
about
not?
who to cast as James Bond last week.
Yeah, but why the hell isn't he talking about Amazon Luna? Being seen playing games in Amazon Luna? He's the fucking CEO. Like,
it all boils down to the same thing we said, right? Games.
Yeah.
The reason they aren't promoting stuff and outside of Fortnite and stuff is because they don't have enough games. They're not here at the start of the year talking about big AAA releases. Like, what games have we spoken about on this podcast since the 10th of January? Games coming in 2025. Split Fiction. We just both bought it. Playing that on Luna? No, it's not coming out. You're going to play Assassin's Creed Shadows? That's one of them that is coming, because Ubisoft support the hell out of cloud gaming. South of Midnight? That's exclusive.
If I play Assassin's Creed, that'll be PlayStation, because my girlfriend's buying it.
Doom the Dark Ages? Not coming.
Xbox.
Metal Gear Solid Delta? Not coming. Elden Ring Night Rain? Not coming. Borderlands 4? Not coming. You know what I mean? We're just getting this same loop of just Dynasty Warriors Origins just came out, Monster Hunter just came out, not coming. Like, how many months into the year do you get where you're just like, oh, well, there's another year, 2025. Kingdom Come Deliverance? Again, I'm not just talking exclusives, I'm talking like third-party titles as well. Civilization? Not coming. Even like the smaller ones, all the like the little indie games that come out, you don't hear them. Atomfall? Not coming. Comes out later this month.
It's bad when you're not getting the double A's.
Yeah. You're not getting your THQ Nordic types.
Yeah. But anyway, let's keep moving on, because we're an hour and a half into the podcast. We should probably wrap things up fairly soon.
Yes, let's do
so Respawn have cancelled an unknown first-person shooter game.
We knew about this, right? Because there was the Star Wars game that was cancelled. So no, this is like a continuation of it. So I was reading an article earlier on today which basically said that the Star Wars FPS game that was scrapped last year, Respawn tried to reuse the assets to incubate essentially a new project off the back of that cancellation. So whether that was Disney's decision to cancel it or internal, and they basically tried to salvage something and put it together, and leadership have looked at it and said, actually, we can't form anything new from the ashes of this last one, which in a weird way, because it wasn't officially announced to us, it wasn't public knowledge, I see this as more of one of them business decisions that it was probably the right thing to do. Like, I understand maybe trying to reutilize your assets that you've got and that you've worked on, but without the license of Star Wars, a lot of it probably falls a bit flat unless you can pull together a really great story and pull the threads together. And
I kind of think, though, if you pull the IP away from the game and it falls flat, you've had a shit game anyway.
I mean, it depends how much of it looked like Star Wars and they couldn't use it. Like, if this is so the rumored one was a Mandalorian game, right? So if you take away the Mandalorian out of it, is it a bounty hunter game? And then does anyone want a new bounty hunter game? Can you try and make a new protagonist? Does it work without the bounty hunter?
If the game
Star Wars world
good enough, I think it can exist. Not to the same level, but this is where I think the problem with going back to Marvel's Avengers is a shit game with a Marvel skin over the top. So once the Marvel IP wasn't doing the heavy lifting through like the single player story, the game was crap. So that's where that died. So since then, I've always held to, you need to make a good game with or without the IP. The IP should be the cherry on the cake. Insomniac Spider-Man would be an amazing game, even if it wasn't Spider-Man. It's better because of Spider-Man, but it'd still be amazing.
Yeah. That's true. Remember when we had the leaked the fake leaked Google Stadia game that was Mandalorian, and the developer used like Stadia overlays and assets to make it look legit, and we were like, oh my word, and then it was fake.
Yeah,
that was funny. Good times.
Indeed. But you know what isn't funny, Chris? The end of this podcast, because that's all we have time for, but we like to end every show with this day in video game history. So, starting on March the 7th, what have you got for us?
Not much.
You mean you're not interested in Top Angler on the PS2?
No, Top Angler, not striking for me. It's March, let's have a look. Army Men 3D, March the 9th. That was a solid game. That was one of them games I picked up from one of them racks in a Wilkinson's or something, and it was like probably $2.99, $3.99 for like what were the boxes called? They were like the white boxes with the orange spine on them, and there was like, it was a brand of like cheap games, and they basically just take the cover art and put it within the box art. I had like Army Men, one of the Tropico games I got from them.
The Division came to PC 9 years ago. Devil May Cry 6 years ago. Devil May Cry 5, sorry. No, Dragon's Dogma 2, more recent.
We should acknowledge, though, March the 10th this week, which is Mario Day. MAR10, Mario. Yeah. We got, ironically, not a Mario game. Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, 22 years ago on Mario Day. We also got Star Wars Jedi Starfighter for the PlayStation 2, 23 years ago in 2002. Great little game. Dynasty Warriors 7. Kona came out, Richie.
Yeah.
City Skylines. And then last one for me, just because I want to say on March the 11th, which is my daughter's birthday, we got Monster Hunter, the original, Worms 3D, the original, 21 years ago, and Titanfall, 11 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry, if we're talking March 11th, Chrono Trigger on the Super Nintendo.
All right,
that is a fucking game right there.
30 years ago, 1995.
Right.
28 years before.
Chrono Trigger is one of them. It deserves the HD 2D like remaster treatment that Square Enix are giving some other games. It is
Square own it, right?
Yeah.
As well.
It's, for some reason, it's one of them that it's not ever seemed to make its way to modern consoles. So, come on, do Chrono Trigger. You know how for a long time I felt like they had a Final Fantasy VII remake in case of emergency break glass moment.
Yeah.
It feels like Chrono Trigger is one of them.
What was the last entry in the series that we got?
I don't know. I've only played Chrono Trigger. I haven't played any of the other entries.
Let's see. Games list. No, there isn't a games list. That doesn't help me. It's just the original one.
Yeah.
Not too sure. Hopefully not another 28 years, though.
No, hopefully not. Because that is all we have time for you this week. If you have liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so you kept in the loop of all fantastic content here at GamerGuildTV. If you want to join the conversation even further, we have a Discord. The links are in the comments. Links in the comments, links in the description below. Feel free to like and comment to say how I've messed up this outro. And follow us on the socials. You know where to find us. My name's been Richie.
I've been Chris.
GG ever. Goodbye.